I'm just going to give a brief update this evening on where we're at, and we'll go from there. Mailers were sent out on May 6th explaining some of the basic changes that will be coming with the new single-stream curbside recycling program. Along with that mailer was a detachable sign-up sheet for the program, so folks could pick their cart size, and we included a prepaid return envelope that they could send that back to City Hall. And we put together a brochure listing acceptable and prohibitive materials that will be included with the new single-stream program. Customers were asked to respond back with their sign-up portion of that mailer back to us by June 15th. We're still getting a few coming in, but for the most part we got them all returned. To date, we have received sign-up sheets which resulted in a 63% participation rate for the single-family category and a 40% participation from the apartment category, which I was pretty happy with. I'm still waiting to hear back from a number of the larger property management companies that have not responded with their cart numbers as of yet. We are anticipating that the participation rates will continue to climb, especially in that apartment category. We anticipated that being new to apartments that it may start out rather slow, but we've got a good number of them that have returned responses. We also held an informational meeting on May 13th to further explain the new single-stream recycling program to the apartment owners and property management companies. I, along with Andy Boyd and Sandy Crooks from Latah Sanitation, Moscow Recycling, fielded questions at the end of the meeting as well. The meeting was attended by 10 representatives from various apartments and property management companies. Councilor Betke and Steed also attended that meeting. Due to what I felt was a small attendance at that meeting, I followed up with phone calls to a good number of property management companies, and that resulted in several more folks getting more information that didn't really understand or didn't have time to make it to that meeting. I've also conducted many site visits to apartment complexes to assist with cart placement locations and recommendations for numbers of carts that they may need to get started at given locations. That was a big concern with a lot of the apartments, is there's a lack of parking in a lot of locations, and they were concerned about where to place carts and how many they needed and so on and so forth. So I've been working with folks on that as well. The two 20-yard glass collection roll-off containers were ordered, and they are anticipated to arrive the first or second week in August. We've also secured an additional glass drop-off location, which we talked about early on in some of the early meetings, and that's going to be located out at the old Gilbert Auto lot, directly behind Spence Hardware. Brian Spence purchased that building and property and is going to allow us to park one of the drop-off boxes out there, and then of course we'll still be accepting the glass down at the recycle center. Shortly after the glass collection containers arrive, we'll place that glass container at the new site, and we will discontinue picking up glass at the curb before actually implementing the single stream. This will give us about 6 or 7 weeks prior to the implementation of the new single stream program for folks to get adjusted to glass no longer being accepted at the curb, or collected at the curb, excuse me. The single stream roll carts are ordered, and we anticipate them also to start showing up in mid-August. The new carts are a green granite in color. We were able to get the granite for the same price as the plain color. They're really kind of a contemporary looking. They've got the speckles in them, and they don't show the wear and tear on them. I think they're going to look real nice. The carts will have black lids. The lids are also going to have an embossed label listing the acceptable and prohibitive materials right on top of the lid, and there'll be a little more generalized list than what we sent out, but it'll touch on most of the things. Latah Sanitation anticipates that distribution of the new carts will take approximately 4 to 5 weeks. And my best projection at this point for implementation of the new single-stream recycling program would be late September to possibly the 1st of October, if everything goes as scheduled. Garbage will continue to be picked up every week once this is implemented, but once we get those new single-stream carts out there and we begin the program, the recycling will start going every other week. We'll do single-family 1 week, and then on alternating weeks, they'll do the apartment complexes. Collection schedules, we're also working on schedules and calendars that will be handed out in a packet when the carts are delivered. We'll be putting out an informational packet like we did when we converted the carts with the garbage collection. Just some basic instructions, how to place them, how to keep them away from obstacles. Again, we'll put that accepted and prohibitive list in there. And what I'd like to do is make a calendar, and we'll have single families on a one colored week and apartments on another colored week, and then we can also list those holidays when collection may be a day late. We get a lot of phone calls on that. The other thing I'd like to do is, along with those schedules, is maybe make up some like refrigerator calendars just for reminders for folks to throw on the fridge or a back cabinet or something so they can remember. And I think once we get rolling and people get used to it, that it will work out just fine. With that, I'll field any questions.
Dan?
So, Tim, you said that you had a response back from 63% of the single family that we sent it out to. How does that compare with the current single family use? As far as what we have, what they, or do you have that?
I don't have any scientific numbers, Dan, but last summer when we first started talking about single stream, I was curious for myself because we really didn't know what participation rates we were seeing out there. And we did a 7 or 8 week pilot, and it looked like we were having about 30% set outs.
So we're basically doubling right now.
And that's right on track with what we were seeing with the other communities that I polled, you know, Lewiston and Spokane and Pullman, Coeur d'Alene.
And all that's coming out of the waste stream. So
exactly.
That's the good part of this whole thing. Thanks.
Walter?
Tim, following up on Dan's question, when you look at over 60% single family and add a brand new 40% of apartments and possibly more, is that in line with your pro forma when you tried to estimate the cost and revenue on this program? Were you using about those numbers, or I remember how well you did in estimating what we were going to recapture from the abuse of the tag system on the waste side. So how are these numbers looking compared to what you?
I estimated that we would be around 70% with the single family, which I think we'll probably hit, and I estimated at 60% with the apartments, which I think we'll hit.
So we're not out of line.
No.
Okay. And if I may, one other question. When you talk about picking up every other week, in other words, single family 1 week, apartments the next, that's entire city. The city will not be broken up into zones or regions or?
No, the single family folks will
the entire town will be 1 week.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the entire town for apartments.
And that will be, for the single family folks, it will be the same day as their garbage collection. So it'll just be every other week on the recycling.
Okay. Other questions for Tim? Thank you for the report, Tim. Good job.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing that. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is the public hearing. Proposed amendments to Title IV, Chapter 3, and the Legacy Crossing Design Guidelines to amend off-street parking and window opening requirements. Michael Ray will present. Hi, Mike.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the council. Take me a sec to pull up the presentation. Steve may have set me up here.
There we go.
So before you tonight, we have proposed amendments, an ordinance and a resolution for off-street parking in the window area, amendments for Legacy Crossing.